Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We have a sun diving comet flying into the sun right now, and the next few hours are absolutely critical. We don't know whether it will actually impact the sun or whether it will graze around the sun, flying through the solar corona and appearing on the other side should it not completely vaporize. This is comet C2026A1 MAPS. It has brightened quite a bit since it has now entered into view of our coronagraphs. It was a little bit dimmer than expected, but it has a lot more strength and cohesion to the nucleus than most astronomers were expecting. They estimate the size about 400 meters across, and it seems that it's ablating these thin layers of material. So this appears to be a heavily processed sungrazer comet. It's probably just the remnant silicate and metallic core that is left, meaning that there is an electromagnetic coupling that's already existing between this comet and the sun. Right now it's at maximum because it's perihelion right now, and we could be seeing a significant space weather event from this. At least it's a much heightened possibility. Now here we see our sun going back to March 30th. We see that 1.5 X-class flare. Well, in the past 24 hours, we also had a 7.5 M-class flare, as well as a 1.7 and 1.5. We'll see that at the end of the video. Just as I forecasted in yesterday's video, I said 80% chance we get a high M-class flare or an X-class flare. Boom shakalaka, we had it. We'll see it from Sunspot Group 4409. Look how active that is. This is exactly the sort of activity that you see from a sunspot before a big event. So we could be looking at a larger X-class flare from that sunspot exactly from Earth direct. And honestly, this entire situation is so eerily similar to a dream that I had about a week and a half ago that I have to share that with you, as well as a couple other solar flash dreams I've had. So I'll talk about that at the end of the video. You can draw your own interpretations from these dreams I've had, but they're incredibly vivid and they tell a lot of story. So we're going to do the solar report, then we'll get into that. Let's jump right into it. Here's our C2 chronograph view for the sun right now. Again, this is the most up-to-date imagery we have. We see comet C2026A1 MAPS flying in right there. You saw what that looked like. Let me show you a historic example of a sundiver comet that did trigger a significant space weather event. We can look at that with this imagery here. So you'll see this comet come in quite a bit weaker than MAPS was, but it does brighten quite a lot. Boom shakalaka. Big coronal mass ejection launched from that. Now that came in on the far side like this, that coronal mass ejection also launching out towards the far side. So this did not interact with Earth, but we see how this can happen. And you see that right now we're at that critical juncture. So I don't know if we're going to get a big coronal mass ejection from this. It very well could survive its perihelion MAPS and then swing around to the other side, and then maybe we get something in the next few days. That is also possible. Again, if we look at this, we'll see it coming in and it's going to swing around like this. So expect it to come in a little bit off to the at an angle here soon should it survive, but I'm not sure it's going to survive its perihelion. We'll just have to wait and see. Here we see our X-ray flux going back for the past 3 days. So we have here a moderate M-class flare. Just check out all the activity that we've had now. Low grade, but still constant solar flares from these sunspots. And then here we see 4409 with that 7.5 M-class flare. No coronal mass ejection launched from that. The 1.7 M-class flare and a 1.3. So boom, boom, boom. We could get a big spike today. I think that's a much higher likelihood than normal. I would say there's probably a 50% chance that we get an X-class flare today. We hope that doesn't happen because right now we have astronauts halfway to the moon. They are completely exposed to the space environment, much more so than normal or astronauts aboard the International Space Station in low Earth orbit. And also this could be a big deal for us here on Earth as well. So prayers like to the sun asking for mercy, honestly, because the sun is holding back right now. It's not pulling, it's pulling its punches a little bit, but it doesn't have to. And it's well aware of the fact that we have astronauts out in space and all the conditions on our planet, right? The sun's very benevolent, but it's aware of everything that we're doing. So all these solar flares, in my mind, in my belief system, are all precisely chosen, intentional, etc. That's why we have this phenomenon of Earth facing quiet so often. Oftentimes we get this activity and then it goes super quiet right with Earth facing and then speeds back up again, because clearly the sun is saying, not today for you guys. We can look at our proton flux as well. Here we see it. We see that we did not reach an S1 radiation storm level, but we have had a proton storm. So we got very, very close. The astronauts have been flying through heightened radiation flux as a result of some solar activity that we had back on the 1st of April, right in that time frame of when they launched. So they've already been flying through quite a lot here, as we can see. We've also been having some significant seismic activity, and this ties into the dreams I've had, so let's check it out. Here we see our USGS latest earthquakes map. We see that the strongest earthquake of this time frame is a magnitude 6 right here in the Philippines, this occurring at about 100 kilometers below the surface. So pretty deep earthquake. We see here some earthquakes as well from the aftershock swarm of the magnitude 7.5. Huge release of energy there. This 5.9 being the second strongest of the day, just behind the magnitude 6, and that's an aftershock. And we can really see that if we go to our 7-day view. Check this out. 7 days, magnitude 4.5 or greater. We have 56 earthquakes, magnitude 4.5 or greater as part of the swarm, the 7.4 being the strongest, the 6.2 aftershock, 5.9, 5.9, 5.8. So this has been a big release of Earth energy out of Indonesia, and now a magnitude 6 popping off just to the north of it. So bigger releases of energy right now happening across the globe, and we have this sun diving comet coming in. We have the ionosphere very well charged because of all these low-grade solar flares and now some M-class flares. And we also just got out of a shock G3 geomagnetic storm. So we had a long duration G1, G2 storm. This solar storm impact that we were expecting came in really fast, spiked us right to G3 levels. Now we're back down to nominal levels, but that did happen yesterday. So everything has been very, very active for the past 24 hours, and for the seismicity going all the way back to about March 20th. So we're about 2 weeks now of heightened seismic activity, a classic seismic burst, as we can see here with our global seismic activity level, magnitude 7.5 there, 7.3, 7.4. And all of this being in Southeast Asia. This is Tonga, this is Vanuatu, this is Indonesia. So tons of activity happening right now, seismically across the globe, tons of solar activity, sun diving comet, astronauts in space. I mean, everything right now is just supercharged with energy. And we should also examine our planetary energies, which we can do with this Truesky astronomical chart. So we're looking at the constellations as they are in the sky, true to size, and the position of the planets within them. So we see that we have a big grouping here in Pisces. We have Mars now in Pisces, soon to perform its conjunction with Neptune and Saturn. The Sun is in Pisces. It just passed over them and did the solar Cazimis for Neptune and Saturn. And so there's a ton of energy there. We also have Chiron and Eris there. So a centaur and also a trans-Neptunian dwarf object in Pisces. Mercury is about to move in and also pass over all of them. So a ton of energy. Then we have this harmonic configuration, a trine between Pluto and Uranus. And this is an aspect to Saturn and Neptune. So Mars is going to be going through and activating all of these over the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be Mars-Pluto sextile, and then of course Mars-Uranus sextile, and then it's going to be the conjunctions. And so the next 2 weeks are going to be very potent for planetary energy. We're already in that right now. As it relates to this exact moment in time, we see that we have a nice air trine in effect. So the moon just moved into Libra. Again, this is constellations, true sky. The moon just moved into Libra. We see it trine there to Mercury, trine to Jupiter. So we have this air trine in effect for about probably a day and a half, just FYI. And we also see that Venus and Ceres are about to go conjunct in Aries. So a lot of planetary energies at this moment in time, adding into this entire mix. And we're also being hit by all these fireballs right now. Talking to someone who's been plotting the orbits of these, the best estimate that I can get now is that we're actually experiencing just an increase in debris from the asteroid belt being pulled in by these planets, a gravitational pull influencing like a larger bulge of the asteroid belt into Earth's orbit. And as a result, we're getting more of these fireballs. They're not necessarily 100% interstellar from 3i Atlas, but there has been, by my calculations, mixing of interstellar material into the asteroid belt, which now is there and it's going to be there going forward. So not that much compared to the overall mass of the asteroid belt, but that is a dynamic at play. So we have a lot happening right now. Sun, increased fireball and asteroid and meteor activity, the comet flying into the sun, strong planetary energies, solar activity, seismic global bursts. It's all happening. And now I'd like to discuss these 3 dreams I've had as it relates to the sun and something you say like a solar flash. Now, a lot of people have been talking about solar flash for decades, okay? So there's some idea of this big outburst from the sun in the collective consciousness. We look back at the record, we see evidence of super flares and the ensuing Miyake events here on Earth. So there's something to this. And it doesn't seem that super flares or solar flashes are cataclysmic, but it's a very intense event, and I have experienced that now 3 times in my dreams. So the most recent one I had is the one that's most similar to right now, like this exact moment. And it didn't really make too much sense at the time because this was like a week and a half ago. There weren't that many sunspots on the sun, yet the sun was appearing in my view, and I was pleading with it like not to erupt, and I saw specifically the sunspots on the sun. Now before that there was an earthquake, so the ground was shaking. I was in my apartment in Rome on the 9th floor and the thing was swaying. I was like, please don't let this building collapse. Then the earthquake settled down, and then I just saw the sun zooming in with these giant sunspots on it. And I could tell the sun was commanding this respect energy, like, you need to respect my power. If you don't, like, who knows what I'm going to do, because I'm the one in charge here. Me being conscious of this, because I'm always looking at the sun and, you know, praying to the sun, talking to the sun, all the things, right? The sun is the great life giver for our planet, thank God. I was pleading with the sun, like, please don't do it. Please don't do it. At the time, it just felt like kind of an off dream because the sun was spotless at that time. Now it's very active with all these sunspots. Now it makes perfect sense. Now we have astronauts in space. If a big solar flash or something was to occur, they're gone. So, and then a lot of systems here are put under tremendous strain and pressure. So that's the first dream. The second dream I've also shared, this goes further back, and it's very similar to the first dream I had along these lines, and that's like, I think about a year ago now. And that involved, it seems, 3i Atlas. But basically, I was at home, and all of a sudden, the sun just started going absolutely bonkers with energy. And it was just like flaring like crazy, but there was no fear to this. It was instead, you could feel this energy like hitting your body and rejuvenating, just like charging, transforming your body in a way that is really beyond words to describe. And just looking at it, just like an absolute amazement, took out my phone and took a video on it because I was like, people aren't going to believe me if I don't have the video. This is in the dream. But then other people nearby saw it, and then what started happening afterwards is that the creek by the house actually rose up and the water level went up. And keep in mind, all those planets right now are in Pisces with the constellation. So in terms of the tropical system right now, everyone's saying fire and air, which is, yeah, based off the tropical system. But if we look at the Truesky position, it's actually a lot of water and earth energy right now. Uranus is in Taurus. A lot of the planets are in Pisces. We just had Pluto, it's moved into Capricorn. So there's a big difference right now between the two systems. One of them is accurate to the current moment in terms of astronomical measurements. The other is this derivation based off of a variety of things, still is useful, but the point is there's this connection between the sun, the earth, and also, for example, our climate and water levels and more that we are still just beginning to understand, but we know that there is a rich history to, and it's tied into the rise and fall of civilizations, modern, ancient, and even beyond. So that dream was very striking. Then before that, this is like a year ago, I had a dream where I was out in this park area, and all of a sudden, the sun just started to go absolutely nuts. And it was, because this is the first time I ever seen anything like this or had a dream like this, that was maybe not frightening, but certainly alarming. And then the ground started to shake. So it was like the sun was going crazy, the ground was shaking, and there was no clean conclusion to that. It's just like, this is something that happens that you will experience. And so that is stuck in my mind. This other one where it was like these beneficial light codes and energy coming in stuck in my mind. And this most recent one where, you know, the sun was playing a little bit like, hey, I hope you guys remember that I'm in charge. And I felt like I was speaking on behalf of humanity in that dream to the sun, saying, please, we respect you. Don't do it, right? Hold back, please. All of them now are seeming to form a larger picture of that these sort of really big solar flares, these super flares, solar flashes, whatever you want to call them, they do occur. And as I contemplated on this yesterday on the sun, you know, the sun is the ultimate agent of purification. If you put something out, it's dirty, the sun and the light energy from the sun will basically clean it. It's sterilizing. And undoubtedly, we need to undergo some sort of sterilization process for the Earth right now, because there are a lot of bad actors out there. A lot of worms and parasites, you could call them. And so there's a place for everything, but we need a bit of solar purification, I would say. And I think the sun knows that and will work in our best interest for that. So I wouldn't say there's anything to fear, but there are a lot of very strong energies right now active at this moment in time. And we have things like this sun-grazing comet coming in right now, which can act as these wild card triggers of change. So no big solar coronal mass ejection yet from this or solar flare, but it could happen today. That's the point. It can happen any day. So we need to be mindful of this. We need to give our thanks to Creator, God, Sun, universe, everything. They are all there working together harmoniously for our best benefit. Have faith. Wishing all of you well. Have a wonderful Easter tomorrow if you celebrate that. And just in general, be appreciative of the moment, seize every single day. That would be the advice that I would offer to anybody. So thank you all so much. Have a great day. See you all soon. And well, see you then.